Yeah, I think the similarities are obvious. We are working on the same technology, we go to the same conferences, and we try to develop the same systems. Personally, I'm more interested in the differences. Luckily, the world is different. Europe is different from California. California is different from New York. Now, of course, different from Japan and from China. So I'm more interested in the differences. And there are many differences between Beijing and Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley was born spontaneously. It's interesting that nobody planned Silicon Valley. Instead, the Silicon Valleys around the world, including Beijing, were planned. The government wanted a Silicon Valley. When I go to Europe, Japan, China, it's very interesting how different the systems are. And hopefully we can learn from each other based on the differences. Yeah, I wish we always innovated for a better world. Sometimes we forget that the goal is to create a better world. So I'm very pleased with the title of the conference. And I notice participation from all over the world. And of course, I'm all in favor of collaboration around the world. I was born in Europe. I live in the United States. I travel around the world. So I'm very happy when a conference is so international. That's a very difficult question to answer. This is a new technology. Like all new technologies, it is not trivial to understand how to regulate them. Europe has done the most in this field. You have to be very careful not to hurt the technology. It's a young technology. You have to be careful not to hurt it. At the same time, you have to be careful that technology does not hurt people. So I don't know. It's a complicated issue. My feeling is that companies are the ones that have the competence, the know-how to make sure that AI is trustworthy. So it's a tricky thing. I mean, it's the company that makes AI is the one that has the know-how to control it. But at the same time, sometimes the company doesn't have the motivation to control it, right? We've seen the same problem with social media. So we still haven't solved that problem, and AI will be another problem difficult to solve. Yes. I think if you look at all the technology we've had, there's always been somebody who uses it in a bad way. And it's really hard to come up with regulations that work. So new technology implies new regulations, and it's really difficult for me to understand how we can deal with it. Yes, I think the benefits can be gigantic. My favorite application is in medicine, for example. AI medicine can give the best possible healthcare to every single person on this planet. So it is definitely worth developing AI. But at the same time, bad people could use the same AI to provide bad healthcare. For example, your health record is on the cloud, and some hacker goes there, changes their health record, and then AI gives you a bad medicine. Yeah. It's not AI that has made a mistake. It's a human being, a criminal, who caused the problem. So, the benefit is obvious to me. It can be huge. So I definitely want more progress. I will tell you one issue, the issue that personally is more concerning to me. I grew up when there was a gap between the United States and Europe. There was a big gap between United States and Asia. And then we closed the gap. Little by little, we closed the gap. Now, with the new technologies, even before AI, the gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, especially between the 2-3 countries that have AI and all the other countries that have no AI. Just imagine you fly from San Francisco to a city in Africa or Latin America. The gap is colossal. So my concern is we want to close that gap. Instead, the AI we have today, generative AI, requires very expensive, very big machines. Basically, only 4 corporations can do generative AI in the United States. I don't know how many in China, but it's probably very few. Obviously, this is not a good place to be. This is a big concern. I don't want 4 corporations in the United States to control AI for most of the world. Ideally, I want even a small company in Africa or Latin America to be able to do the same thing that I do in Silicon Valley. So that's my number one concern. So the book is 600 pages, so I cannot summarize it in 5 minutes. If you have time, we can talk a few hours, but in a few minutes it's difficult. But definitely there's a spirit of Silicon Valley that has not been replicated anywhere else, and you really have to study the culture of the place, not just the technology. So the culture is very different. People think different, and that gives us Silicon Valley. For example, in Silicon Valley, you are very encouraged to try very crazy projects. And if your project is about something that is impossible, great. When they put a computer, when I was a kid, the computer was as big as this room, bigger than this room. And then somebody said, I want to put a computer on a desk. In fact, originally, it was for schools. Wanted to have a computer for children on a desk of a classroom. That's an incredibly stupid idea. Crazy. Impossible. Well, guess what? Today we have laptops, we have computers on your phone and so on. And recently somebody said, I want a computer that speaks like a human. Crazy, stupid, impossible. Well, guess what? We have ChatGPT. So in Silicon Valley, you're very much encouraged to do that. And if you fail, okay, well, you tried. Try again. So there's some of these things that make Silicon Valley completely different. China, Japan, and Europe, they've been successful in many other ways, but not the Silicon Valley way. It's a different system. It can still succeed. It can still create great technology companies, but it's very different. Yeah, it's very different. The feeling is very different. I think if I have to name one thing, the international spirit. That's very important. And it's something sometimes the conferences are missing. So I like that there is this spirit here. And also interdisciplinary. You know, I was in a panel right now, in a program right now, where there was an economist, a social scientist, politician. So that's the right approach, to have different disciplines communicate. Yeah, I wish that we could have the same thing in many different countries and then exchange the feedback. I can talk about Beijing a long time because as a tourist, I have been coming to Beijing since the 80s when everybody was on a bicycle. And there was a very interesting time. So I've been interested in Chinese culture, Chinese civilization for a very long time. And I've been in Beijing over the years. And of course, Beijing has changed a lot. My pictures, the first pictures of Beijing, everybody's on a bicycle. Everybody's dressing the same way. There are no skyscrapers. And my pictures of recent trips, there's all the skyscrapers and the Olympic Park. And so I've seen Beijing change a lot. Yeah, I've also had contacts with the technology and science of Beijing, but not only Beijing, all over science, all over China. The progress is impressive.